We talk about everything, play music in between. Tune in and enjoy Chad's underground scene. Talking music, you know what I mean. Tune in and enjoy Chad's underground scene.
Welcome to Chad's Underground Scene, another special edition out here in Nashville, Tennessee. I am here with my special guest, Danny Dean. How you doing, buddy?
Thank you for having me, Chad.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
Yeah, it's been a long while.
We got cut off of touring about a year and a half ago. We played a show in Texas, and then
here we Dallas are. Amphitheater.
Yeah, and here we are. We're
with Easter.
Yes.
Yeah.
How's it going here in Nashville?
Things are starting to happen again. I moved here a few years ago, and right when I was about to start networking and going out and do stuff, the COVID hit. So I've been sitting around waiting for it to pass by. I'm getting ready to go to New York tomorrow morning to work with Jeff Molesky, the famous producer who worked with the Smashing Pumpkins and Hole and a lot of great acts. I'm doing a solo tribute record, not to myself, but to Cliff Richard and the Shadows. And a lot of people don't know who they are.
Great music.
Before the Beatles, there was Cliff Richards and the Shadows. They were like the Beatles before they were Beatles, and the Beatles used to envy them and look up to them. But they're big in Europe. Anyways, I'm a fan of early Beatles, and I'm a big fan of early rock and roll, and Cliff Richard and the Shadows were kind of like the early Elvis sound of Europe,
And where are you recording this album?
At Rockwell Recording in Syracuse, New York. And we're almost done. I just have to sing 5 more songs. Then we have 16 songs to mix of Cliff Richard and the Shadows. And then 14 songs are instrumentals. They're Shadows songs. And those are already mixed. They sound incredible. He did a wonderful job.
Awesome.
I mean, you put it next to the original Shadows, you think you're listening to them.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it.
It's amazing.
And always good recordings coming out of that studio.
Oh yeah, the analog tape and the Neve modules and board. He has a Neve VR board. I'm thinking its time. It was probably $1 million when it was new. It's amazing.
So it's funny how we're crossing paths because I just came from New York to here.
Yeah.
And now you're going to New York from here. So
we're jet setting again.
Yeah,
it feels good to get out of the house. I've been trapped for a long time.
So we'll start the show with a little song. This goes back to a few years, quite a few years back actually. I wrote the song, and then just a few years back I recorded it on acoustic record. This is called Chelsea Jean. Danny's never played this with me, so he's going to just jam it out and make it cool.
We'll see.
And we're in E flat, apparently. She's got eyes of blue that'll win your heart. She's got a great big smile that'll tear you apart. She's so clean, that Chelsea Jean. She looks straight in your eyes, make your heart skip a beat. Now you find yourself dancing with 2 left feet. She's so clean, that Chelsea Jean. She's so clean, that Chelsea Jean. She's so mean, that Chelsea Jean. She said, don't worry, Daddy, it's gonna be alright. Take it, Daddy. down. She'll keep you on the run. Tell you not to worry, that's just for fun. She's so clean, that Chelsea Jean. She's so clean, that Chelsea Jean. She's so mean, that Chelsea Jean. She said, don't worry, Daddy, it's gonna be alright. One more time. Chelsea Jean. She's so mean, that Chelsea Jean. She said, don't worry, Daddy, it's gonna be alright. I said, she's so clean, that Chelsea Jean. I said, she's so mean, that Chelsea Jean. She said, don't worry, Daddy, it's gonna be alright. Yeah.
That was nice. I like that.
Fun stuff. That's good. Yes. Right up your alley. You've played a little bit of rockabilly over the years.
I know 3 chords.
That's it.
It works.
That's all you need to know. That's why we love it. All right, let's go back to the day. Because we both started in punk rock. You started way back in punk rock. I started way back in punk rock, and then we ended up together. So let's go back to the early days with Anti and Mood of Defiance.
Well, I went to Hawthorne High, and I grew up in the South Bay, like you. And in 1978, I had a rockabilly surf band called Skinny Memphis. And it wasn't going so good. We could never lock in a drummer. And I had met a friend named Gary Cale. He had a band called the 415s, and they actually wrote their own songs, recorded them themselves, pressed singles, and had them played on K-Rock, on Rodney and the Rock. And that was in 79.
Yeah, 79, yeah.
I wanted to do that. I wanted to learn how to write songs and learn how to record and do all that stuff. So I moonlight in a band called Zurich 1916 with Gary Cale. And it was ambient noise. It's very early German style experimental music.
Avant-garde, right? Yeah,
yes,
cool.
we had 2 tape machines, and we connected them together, and we had 4 tracks. We recorded washing machines and the rain and someone reading poetry, and we would slice the tapes and run them at different speeds, backwards, forwards. I mean, we got all kinds of different sound effects. Threw them up and cut them up, threw them up in the air, and taped them back together. It took hours.
Oh, sweet.
You could do all that stuff in seconds in the computer now, in the digital world. But it took us hours and days to compile this stuff and mix it. We barely could play. It was experimental rock. Then we decided we wanted to do stuff with guitars. So we started a band, me and him, and I named it Anti. And I was only probably 14 or 15. I couldn't play and sing too well. I'd only been playing a year, and I couldn't play and sing yet. But I was writing songs finally. And we got a singer from my high school, a guy named Steve Acosta. He was this guy who dug the Ramones. He wore leather to school, and this is 1979.
Yeah.
And people didn't dig that back then. We were beat up all the time and chased, because it was, people were, how would you say it, very conservative. I mean,
yes, yeah,
you can't even imagine what a nightmare it was. But
yeah, you just combed your hair different. There was some people going, "No, get out of here, you crazy hippie."
Yes, so this guy was crazy, Esteban. He was cool. Everybody liked him, and he had the leather jacket and the Ramones t-shirt and jeans. He was super hyper, was ready to slam in a second. He was like, he loved the pit.
We're doing it, yeah.
And I said, that guy's perfect. And he had a book of lyrics. And he had the hugest punk collection. He collected punk records back then. So him and Gary Cale had these massive punk collections, early stuff, and I was able to listen to all that, and we started the band. We got him to sing, and then we got Steve Lynn. This guy was like 12 or 13 and can play like a guy who's 40. He knew every beat. He had all this energy, he had this mohawk. He was this little kid. It was funny. We recorded a bunch of demos and wrote songs for a year. Our goal was to put out a record and start playing shows. About a year in, we got into 1980, went through. Steve's father had health problems, and it really shook Steve's world. So he decided, I'm going to join the Air Force, because he was a senior and I was a freshman.
Right, yeah, you're a freshman.
So
yeah.
he changed his path. His father passed away, and he did really great in the Air Force. I mean, he's the top Air Force jet mechanic in the world. He's retired now, but people want to hire him for their armies to work on their jets, or to look at them. But anyways, then we got a guy named Bert, and it's a long story. We got Bert in the band, and he was in there until I could sing, basically. And he was great at the time. We did 3 albums. Let me show them to you. At that time, nobody wanted to sign a punk band. There was nowhere for us to play. We used to play in dumps and backyard parties, which are great. But anyways, Mike Watt of the Minutemen said, I'll help you. D. Boone and Mike Watt were good friends with Anti. And I remember me and D. Boone used to go around looking for dumps to set up punk gigs, and Mike Watt had a label and he taught us how to put out records. But anyways, we started a label called New Underground Records back in 1980, and this was our first album, Anti. And there's me right there at the bus stop, because I used to ride the bus to the rehearsals. I wasn't old enough to drive yet. That's John McCarthy. He played in the Alley Cats. That's Gary Cale, and that's Bert. Gary Cale passed away a few years ago. Rest in peace. And we did 3 albums back then. And these are now reissued on vinyl again after 40 years almost on Radiation Records. This was our second record, Defy the System. And then this was the third, God Can't Bounce. And they're out limited run on Radiation Records in Italy. And they also reissued a band that me and Gary moonlighted in called Mood of Defiance with the girl singer named Hotha. They were originally from San Pedro, this band, and her band kind of split on her, so we joined in. We only got to do 1 album, unfortunately. We never got to progress or fine-tune our sound, unfortunately. But a lot of people liked this album. And also at the same time, that was also on New Underground Records originally, the label me and Gary ran. We also put out these compilations, which are worth a lot of money now, I imagine, or I read about. They're like worth $100 or so each. And we found all these bands in the South Bay that we were friends with, and we put out these compilations. Gary named this one and did the artwork. It's called Life is Ugly, So Why Not Kill Yourself? And this one's coming out next month on Radiation Records on vinyl again. This one has Red Cross, Descendants, Minutemen, a lot of great bands.
Yeah,
Ill
Trust,
Will,
China White.
China White I love. That's a great band.
Yeah, great band.
And then we did a second one with the Ray Pettibone artwork. Life is Beautiful, So Why Not Eat Health Foods? And I created that title, and Ray Pettibone did the artwork. I think we gave him the title, and he had a piece. He drew this especially for the album. And this one has the Bags, Shattered Faith, Germs, MIA, Power Trip, Vox Pop, a lot of great bands, Bee People, Minutemen. And these are worth a lot of money. They're collector's items, but they'll be out on Radiation Records again within a month or 2. This is Life is Boring. This was the third and the most rare. I only have 2 copies. And so Life is Boring, So Why Not Steal This Record? I named that title, and Ray Pettibone did the artwork. Steal it. And Jeff, give me that! See,
crazy people.
You only have 1 now.
Then after Anti, give me that back.
No.
$100.
After Anti split up, we were in San Francisco. We did our last show and split up. Gary and Norman was the final guitar player. Norman Fernandez from the Ligorians band, and Doug Carrion from later on Descendants.
From Descendants, yeah.
And what are those other bands he plays in? He plays in a band called
Dag Nasty.
Dag Nasty,
Yeah.
Field Day. Those two were in the band with Gary and I, and there was a big fight on stage between Gary and Norman, and the band split up in
And we shared a studio with the Descendants
84.
for a couple
Oh yeah,
years.
that was later on.
When Doug was playing with them, yeah.
And then in 1984, Anti broke up, and I thought that I waited around a year, but when I looked at flyers, it was only not even 3 or 4 months. I was already back in the scene playing shows with Easter, and the band Easter had a few lineups. John Duffy was original member with Jeff Dimmick from Overkill. He was a guy I went to high school with, and Thaddeus O'Shea, who came from Mood of Defiance. That was the first lineup. We had a couple drummers come and go, and then Corky joined the band, and then you joined with him. Corky was your friend, but we got to get signed to Capitol Records sub-label in '86. And John had just left the band, and we had Mike Ness take his place off and on for 3 years. And we only were able to get out the 1 record and the 12-inch, unfortunately. But there's a bunch of videos we got to do. We got to do, I think, 4 videos. And
Right, and we'll break away right now, and you will see the first video that actually has Mike Ness in it. This one is called Lights Out.
Here's Easter on video 1.
I look at my past, it's the front and side. Friends and family, it's so far apart. Familiar voice in my corridor. A frightened child cries for more. Lights and Longdale. Lights at Longdale. Summer's moved in the room next door. It's a couple of miles to the liquor store. Oh, the TV's no use, already tried it. The radio stops for a bit of quiet. Lights at Longdale. Lights at Longdale.
new band from LA and a producer who's worked with Radio Tokyo, Ethan James. After the break, it's over to Australia.
So we spent a lot of time in the underground scene. So tell us a little bit. You were in there real early, so tell us a little bit about the underground scene and what was going on. Corky and I were bouncing around different places, Cathay de Grande and some other places, and
Well,
we crossed each other's paths in different places there. So tell us a little bit about the underground and what was going on in the scene at that time.
well, there wasn't much of a scene. It was slowly growing. And I think by maybe like 82, it started to explode.
Yeah,
It
that's
started
when it
getting
was
bigger and bigger.
That's when it was going off.
You know, I remember when we were first in it, what I understand is that punk rock started in New York and Detroit with the Ramones and those other bands, which I love. And then they went to England and inspired a lot of other bands to start up, like the Pistols and the Clash. Then LA exploded and had to throw back their version of punk rock. And a lot of people don't realize or even consider, but the South Bay or LA in general had the biggest scene in the world.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There
Even
was
just in the South Bay, we had the Starwood.
There were so many bands, you know, and so much going on, you know, that people don't realize how big of a scene it got to be. But it exploded, I think, in '82. We were there in '79, and playing backyard parties and little hole-in-the-wall places. We knew that we loved this music and that we believed in it, and we just played it for not for money or for fame, because we really loved the music. It was music that was ours, you know, music of the youth and from our heart. We sang about the government. We never were political, but we were aware of what was going on in the world. And it's strange when you listen to the songs 40 years later, they make sense. They're relevant to what's going on now. A lot of people tell me that, and it's kind of odd because we were
more a leave us alone government type of feel.
But it's very strange that I didn't realize it till later, but anti was a threat in a way, even within the scene. They thought we were this radical political band. And we actually were banned from playing punk shows because they thought we were too radical.
Right, they would take your lyrics and make it what they think it is.
You know, it wasn't safe at all. But we really didn't, we were just reporting what we read in the paper and the way people thought.
Yeah.
It wasn't what we thought.
Right, and even Corky, he was in LAX, and they had that song, Mr. Reagan,
Ronald Reagan.
Mr. Reagan, and that was super controversial, ended up on K-Rock.
That was a huge...
And then they were like, get it off of there, this is way too controversial.
Yeah, they were very conservative back then. Everyone, the attitude back then people had, the general public, you know, the consumers, they wanted to be accepted by each other. But we didn't. We didn't care to be accepted. We didn't want to be accepted by them. We wanted to be individuals.
And have fun and be left alone.
Yes. And it wasn't like that. It was hard in the beginning. But I say by 83, 84, the punk scene got violent. There was gangs involved. When a certain amount of people get into a scene or a place, they start doing this tribe mentality. You know, when there's too many people, they start segregating for some reason. It's a psychological thing.
And it's always bad when you segregate.
And they start segregating into groups, and then they start fighting amongst each other, and they forget why they're there. You know, because
they're too busy hating and not loving and having a good time.
Or supporting each other. Because we went there, when we were playing, people were there for the music, and after a while, a couple years go by, you see just the back of people's head, and they're fighting, and there's a slam pit, and they're destroying
and everyone's
everything.
Angry about nothing.
And the scene was hard because we would find a club that would let us have a chance. We used to lie and say, oh, we're a blues band or we're a surf band, and we'd get the gig and they go, wait a minute, you guys don't play surf. And we were praying that the punks that would come to the show wouldn't wreck the place, but they would wreck it. Then we wouldn't be able to have a place to play.
And then we'd have to find a new place to play, right?
You know. But luckily, later on in time, you know, you had the Cathay de Grande, and you had the Vex and Godzillas and all these
so many places after
clubs that were really cool, and it supported
Mi Casitas was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the South Bay scene was underrated. There were so many great bands.
And then same in the Orange County scene. That blew up at the same time.
That was huge.
And then that also, like the South Bay and other places, they actually found other venues that could get through all of this craziness. They were shutting down ones because of the violence and all the shit, but there was other clubs that went underground, and they said they were getting the right bands that weren't bringing in those crowds that were the problem. And then the whole thing kind of blew up, and then we get stuck with then we get stuck with grunge.
Glam metal took over. I like glam.
Which is cool. I
like glam rock from the early 70s. Glam metal.
And the glam metal was alright. It was fun.
They were nice guys, all those bands. We played with a bunch, remember, Chad?
We
played with Guns N' Roses and Faster Pussycat were very nice to us.
Yeah, we played several gigs with Faster Pussycat. They were so fun to
I
hang out
remember
with.
they hired us to play Dancing Waters. They needed a band. Somebody canceled, and they called us. And it was all metal gigs.
All metal
remember?
bands. And they loved us.
And we were scared. We thought they were going to tear us apart. We went out there and they loved us. I go, man, this metal crowd is cool.
Yeah.
And And then the Gothic scene was huge too. They accepted us.
And then we played several gigs with Lockup.
With Easter.
Lockup, which was
Rage Against the Machine.
Turned into Rage Against the Machine when they split up. The singer started his band.
Two of them went in.
And they went and started Rage Against the Machine.
And they're legends, Rage Against the Machine.
And when we played with them with Lockup, they were great. Great band, great singer.
We played with Faith No More, a lot of bands. Oh, No Doubt used to open up for Easter. I remember that. And anyways, Easter was from what, 84 to like 90, 91. But that grunge scene just destroyed everything for all of us. I never thought the metal scene would die. I thought it was very strong, but when grunge came in, it just took over.
It took over everything.
It kind of combined.
And it was so short-lived. It was crazy.
It's weird. It was like a combination of punk and metal. You know, it was their own thing.
And there was no build to it. It was just here, and then it was big, and then it disappeared.
Yeah.
As fast as it came, it disappeared.
So
crazy.
I think in 92 I started Mercury Tilt Switch, and then that didn't work out as great as we wanted it to. We were doing that for 2 or 3 years. Did an album with Jay Baumgartner, who's done a lot of huge acts. You know, Tool, Korn, all those bands.
And he also did the mix on their
He also did the 12-inch single. And that didn't work out, so I committed career suicide. People thought I was going to be the next Bruno Mars, you know. And I don't think Bruno Mars was out yet.
Career suicide.
And Bruno Mars, I heard that he was a fan of Easter's. Mm-hmm. You know, because there's a picture of him, and I have a picture of me. I don't know if he saw it, but he did the same pose, wearing the same clothes with a Gretsch. I go, that is so cool. But his family or somebody contacted me and said, did you know that Bruno Mars was a fan of yours and he had the Easter album when he was in high school?
Oh, nice.
I go, no, how would I know? I go, that's an honor because he's such a great songwriter. But people thought I was going to go that route. But I didn't. I committed career suicide, and I went to do my roots music because that's what I loved. I loved 50s music and some 60s. And I went, instead of going by Danny Phillips, which a lot of punk people know me as, I went by Danny Dean, my first and middle. And they never knew that.
Yeah, and it made total sense to us because you always said, oh, we need to put a little more Johnny Cash into this song, or we need to put, you always brought up good, cool 50s artists for us to listen to.
Kind of stay a little bit of rootsy.
Yeah, but, Eddie Cochran. We played Eddie Cochran covers in Easter. Just had a great time.
But I did the roots thing from what was it, 94 to now. That's 20 something years, 25, 26 years, and between all that, I would moonlight in other bands. I played with OMD briefly. I was their touring guitarist. They were synth pop pop band that was huge from England. Orchestra Maneuvers in the Dark, which I loved. That was the biggest challenge for me, and that was a great experience. And then I played with Roddy Radiation from the Specials. When I was doing my rockabilly band, I got to open a lot of tours for different bands, like the Specials and Berlin and Flock of Seagulls, all these different bands. So that's where I adopted some of the 80s covers with the rockabilly vintage feel.
And then we got to squeeze a few Easter tours in there, and
yeah, I did some Easter
anti-gigs
tours,
where I played bass with you
did
guys.
some anti-reunions,
Yeah.
and then I got to play guitar for When in Rome, and they had the hit "The Promise," and I was their guitar player for about 6 years,
7 years,
and then I decided to move out this way. I moved to Kentucky for 2 years, and then I decided there wasn't enough music going on there, and I tried to absorb the bluegrass, but it wasn't my thing. He just found Matt Marie's the name of his latest flame. He talked and talked, and I heard him say that she had the longest, reddest hair, prettiest blue eyes anywhere, and Marie's the name of his latest flame. Easy. Though I smiled, the tears inside were burning. I wished him luck, and then he said goodbye. He was gone, but still his words kept returning. What else was there for me to do but cry? Would you believe that yesterday this girl was in my arms and swore to me she'd be mine eternally? And Marie's the name of his latest flame. You were gonna rock it, go to Tennessee. Though I smiled, the tears inside were burning. I wished him luck, then he said goodbye. He was gone, but still his words kept returning. What else was there for me to do but cry? And Marie's the name of his latest flame. And Marie's the name of his latest flame. And Marie's the name.
Nice. Yes, good memories there. We played that 100 times at least, right? With Easter.
Yeah, I haven't played that in 100 years, I think.
Sweet. So, we hung out a lot of clubs with Easter, had a lot of good times. So maybe tell us a story about some of the best times we had hanging out playing with Easter.
Oh, I don't know where to begin. It's a
Probably
long...
the Anti-Club would be a good place to begin.
Oh, I'll try. Well, what? Oh, what are you
We
thinking?
had so many good times there.
The Anti-Club was wonderful. Helen's Place, it was called, and then they switched it to the Anti-Club. Pia Zadora's mother owned it.
Yes,
the actress from
Helen is awesome.
What was that movie? Valley Girl.
Valley Girl, yeah.
Yeah, I showed that movie to my wife recently, and she'd never seen it. She really liked it. And Pia Zadora shows her tatas on there a lot. It was like, remember when we were in high school? We were like, whoa!
Oh yeah,
ooh,
they
that's a good
showed
movie.
boobies.
That's a good movie. I like this movie.
That's right.
You know,
You gotta see this movie.
and that was, what's his name? The famous actor that was in it. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
He's one of the Copelands.
Yeah.
What's his name? Oh, I can't remember.
It'll come to us somewhere in here. We'll jump out
That's
with
what happens when you get older.
That's right, yeah.
Not old, but older.
Nick. Right?
No. That was his real name? Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage, yeah.
There you go.
I like Nicolas Cage.
See, I get half of it. You get the other half.
He was great in that movie. I love that movie.
Hey, Jeff.
Word.
The mole's here. How about that?
I am here.
I stole
That's
an album.
twice in one day I ran
Yeah,
into
you better bring it back.
How did they say? Better give me that record or I'll steal it again.
That's or I'll steal it again.
No, we had a roller coaster of events when we were in Easter. Those were great times.
And it hasn't ended. We just about every year we've been able to do some sort of reunion tour or reunion shows.
Yeah, we're probably.
I mean, we get screwed up this year because of COVID, but we'll be back soon. I guarantee it.
Yeah, we're due for another reunion.
Yeah, and I know Corky and I are planning to do some shows this summer together, some acoustic shows. So
that'd be good.
somehow we're gonna drag Danny into that mess.
We'll see. I forgot to tell you, Chad. I recorded an Anti album recently, and you played on it. You sang on it, and I think you did some bass. That got picked up by Dr. Strange Records.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
I just sent them the master yesterday for vinyl. It's coming. A new Anti album's coming out. It's actually a celebration album. It's the 40th anniversary when Anti started. I recorded 20 songs. 19 of them are original Anti songs we re-recorded with different band members from different bands like Bad Religion and all these different characters, and wrote one new song, and Mole helped me write the new song. It's called Shut It Down, and Dr. Strange heard it and loved it. They heard. I let them hear a demo of it.
Awesome.
And it's coming out. I just sent them the master, and it's going to go to the pressing plant next week.
And then following that, it's going to be all money and fame, right?
I don't know. No money and shame. But I'm very proud of it, and we'll see what happens, because they want me to come to the West Coast and do some shows, maybe at what's that place? The Glass House.
Glass House, yeah.
And Fox Theater.
Fox Theater, yeah.
Fox Theater.
That's still.
So
around,
I'll let you know if we need you to come play
yeah,
bass.
and we'll play. Yeah, we'll play again. We'll do it again.
We'll see. See about that. So what's
and maybe
next?
we'll get Chris to jump in with us.
Chris? We'll see. That would be nice.
All right, so here's a song all about Hollywood and that whole scene. And we were in our 20s, so we were legends in our mind. And we were legends in our time.
Okay.
So this one's called Legend. I remember all the fun we had at the Cafe de Grand. Faster the better, louder the band. Drinking beer from tin cans, talking to a friend. We would do it all again. Thought it would never end. I'm a legend in my time, legend in my mind. I'm a legend in my time, legend in my mind. I'm a legend in my time, a legend in my mind. I said, remember Fender's Ballroom and the Santa Monica Civic? We always played so loud, and we could kick it. The floor, it was swirling, and it was so hard. Tattoos and leather, such a good looking crowd. I'm a legend in my time, legend in my mind. I'm a legend in my time, legend in my mind. I'm a legend in my time, legend in my mind. Hey, Danny. Said 120 minutes, VH1R, our favorite bands. Stiff little fingers, 999, all of their fans. 3 clubs a night, and then cancers with your friends. We would do it all again. Thought it would never end. So that was all about, I mentioned a whole bunch of the different clubs we played in those days and places we hung out and saw some great bands. So what was maybe one of your favorite bands that we played with? Because we played with so many.
Oh my God. Oh, I don't know. All of them.
All of them, yes. I'm kind of in the same boat.
I don't think there was any bad bands.
No,
really.
no.
I'm trying to remember, who was your favorite?
Even the crazy, insane ones. We played one night. We were undercover as Zombie Sluts from Hell, and we played with Green Jello.
We did?
Who changed their name to Green Jelly, right?
Oh yeah, they might have gotten sued.
And and they were such an odd, weird band. But it was fun and cool and loud and crazy.
It was weird. Easter we wanted to be able to fit in everywhere. You know what I mean? So we did. Our sound and all that stuff, we were able to play metal gigs and experience that, gothic bands. Remember we played with the Nine Inch Nails?
Yeah.
Trent Reznor? He was so nice. I liked meeting him.
And then Perry Farrell was super nice. We played with them a couple times.
We played with a lot of really great bands, and I feel blessed that I got to be part of that music scene from the 80s, the early 80s on, because a lot of great bands and a lot of them became legends. I mean, I used to hang out in the alley with Flea, and we'd talk about John Watson of 999. He was our hero, and Flea played in Fear and for a little while, and then he quit to focus on the Chili Peppers, and God, there were so many.
And one of the highlights for me was playing with Alex Chilton.
Oh yeah, that was a great
show. That was amazing. And then we got blamed for the riots in Orange County after that show.
He was very mellow and nice. He was a legend.
And so amazing. And man, could he sing. And his poses on stage when he's singing were so authentic and nice. Just to see somebody just going for it and singing like that. It's great.
Yeah, what was his big hit?
Aeroplane. Give me a ticket for an aeroplane.
That's what I'm thinking.
Good time, make it fast plane.
I'm a coming home. Oh, my baby wrote me a letter. It's called The Letter.
Yeah.
That's an amazing song. And he did it live that night. It was only a 3-piece.
And I was able to do it on one of my shows. One of my friends, Larry, said, hey, let's play that song from Alex Chilton. Yeah, from the Box Tops. It was actually before Alex Chilton
the Box
did
Tops,
any solo records. He was in the Box Tops.
I think he was like 15 or 16.
And he was a young teenager, yeah.
And he had a
sang
voice
like
of
he was
40 or 50,
and smoked 100 packs of cigarettes.
Yeah, we used to hang out with the older cat. What was his name? Saxon?
Sky
Saxon. Remember that guy? He was the coolest. What band was he from? Was it the Seeds? Pushing Too Hard?
Yes, yeah, he was in the Seeds.
I think he sang.
And then we hung out with the other guy from, I can't remember the other guy's name from Strawberry Alarm Clock. He also hung out with that scene. And then Blondie's, we hung out with the guys from
Frank and Nigel.
Yeah, Blondie and Frank actually played a couple shows with us.
And they were going to produce the Easter second album.
Yeah.
You know, that was a shame. And before we did the first album, what's his name was going to try to produce it?
Moon Martin.
The one that passed away in prison.
Oh yeah.
What's his name? Man, this is embarrassing. Our brains are just not there. He got thrown in jail for that woman being shot on his property.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was he did the Ronettes. He was married to. What's his name? Phil Spector.
There you go. Phil Spector. Phil Spector. Jesus Christ.
He was interested in doing the first Easter album, but we went with Ethan James.
Yes.
Because Ethan James had a reputation. If you did a demo with Ethan James, you would get signed.
You would get a record deal.
X, Jane's Addiction, all these bands with Ethan.
It's true. It happened.
Everybody would get signed, and we did a demo with him. And we got signed. It was amazing.
We got signed, and then the next thing we were on K-Rock. We were on 91X. We were on Kits up in San Francisco.
We had a problem though because they thought we were too hard for the big stations. Our sound to alternative, and then the alternative stations thought we were too poppy.
Yeah.
So we didn't fit in anywhere. It was horrible. But we got on.
But we did all right.
We got on stations all over the country. Some places we had as much airplay as Madonna.
Oh yeah, and then MTV loved us.
MTV played 3 of our videos.
And VH1.
And that to me is an honor that we got to be part of the MTV generation. A small part, but we actually are MTV artists. If you
Oh yes, yes.
look back,
We were in the middle of it all, right? We were on, and then Sting was on with the
Depeche Mode's video would be on, and ours, and then
I want my MTV.
and then In Excess, and my biggest moment was when we played live on K-Rock.
Yeah.
Not once, but twice. And the DJs at K-Rock, which K-Rock was becoming the biggest station in the country. I mean, they were the biggest stations in California, but they had the most listeners in the country, bigger than any station. Anyways,
and they were doing what we wanted to do, right? They were alternative. They went from alternative to actually everybody wanted to know what was going on. What's the next new band? What's the next new song?
playing the music that we wanted to hear. And we got to perform live, and I had talked to someone in the staff at K-Rock. They said that only a few bands have ever gotten to play live on K-Rock.
Twice, right, yeah.
Not twice, but just once.
Yeah.
They maybe not even 10 people have gotten to do that. I think
Yeah.
Morrissey was one, us, No Doubt,
And
a few other bands.
Adamant did.
Adamant. And that's amazing, that
To be in that
we got to
company
be
is amazing.
I mean, remember when we used to get reviews in magazines? They'd top 10 albums of the year, and it'd be U2, In Excess, what's that band? Whatever, and we'd be in there, like number 8
and we'd be
or
8
6,
or 9
and we're like, what the heck? But the shameful thing is that we had some fame going, and we were playing and working hard, but where was the money?
Right. Oh yeah. They weren't pouring money on us.
It was embarrassing. Oh yeah, you're popular and you're on TV and all that, but you don't have enough to buy a cup of coffee.
Right. So we had here's a good little story.
All right.
And we were in San Francisco, and we're playing with Concrete Blonde.
We were touring with Concrete Blonde.
And we were on tour, and we had a night off. So we figured, what are we gonna do on our night off? Let's go to clubs and hand out flyers and tell everyone about our show tomorrow. And
the show got canceled.
And we went to this we went to this club, and we figured, let's go hang out in this club. And it was like a late night club. And we're standing out in front, and I asked the guy, hey, do you think we could get into this club? We want to go in and say hi to some people. And the guy looks at us and he goes, I know who you guys are. I go, yeah, can you think you could let us in? He goes, well, I have to talk to the manager. And I go, okay, cool, get the manager. And so the manager comes over and he goes, oh yeah, you guys, the guys from Easter, yeah, go right in. And the bouncer walks over to us and he goes, hey, I want to see something, you guys. He goes, can you guys all open up your wallets? And I'm like, what?
Oh, I
and
remember.
He goes, open up your wallets because I want to see the cobwebs fly out of there because I just saw you on MTV's twice yesterday.
Says, I want to see a moth fly out of your wallet. Isn't that weird? What does that mean?
It was hilarious because we weren't paying to get in. We were getting in free, right?
Because we were broke and he wanted to see a moth and he saw there was no money in our wallet.
I saw you on MTV twice yesterday. How the hell are you asking to get in free?
It's a disgrace.
And then the following day we played with Concrete Blonde again. It was a great tour. That was a lot of fun.
The tour was great, but they were threatened. Am I allowed to tell that part of it?
Sure.
Okay. When we would go on tour, we made a point to go and embrace and meet the audience.
Everybody
as a group.
yeah.
We went out there, our roadies, Ray and Tim Anderson, we would all go out there and meet everybody. And after a while, after the show went to the hotel where we're staying. The parking lot would be filled with hundreds of people from the gig. And we would be at the same hotel as Concrete Blonde. And her band wanted to hang with us because it was exciting and fun. It was like, people were bored in these little towns. And we'd come through there meeting everybody and they loved us and wanted to party.
Great time,
we had 2 rooms next to each other filled like sardines.
Right,
with
as many people as you could get in,
People
yeah.
all over the balconies, all over the parking lot. It was a huge scene. And the late, what's her name from Concrete Blonde was mad because her band was partying. She wanted them in bed right after the show, rested for the tour.
For the next show.
After a while, we got thrown off the tour because we were getting too much attention. And the band, her band wanted to hang with us all the time. They liked us, and we got thrown off. But that's not the first time that happened.
But it was a great time. It didn't matter. We had a great time, and we made a lot of friends.
But it was hard back then. I watched a lot of documentaries of these bands. Oh, I got it really hard. And they're sitting in a big tour bus with chips and dip and
we're in one van all together.
We're like in a van, 10 guys crammed up, you know. And sometimes a show would get canceled on tour.
Yeah.
And
we're scrambling to find one.
We needed that money to make it back to,
we'd start
the next
knocking,
state.
and we'd start knocking on doors of bars and clubs and going, "You want us to play? We'll play for tips."
It was that tight where every show counted. It was your budget. Okay, if we got to do all these shows, and that money from this show gets you to that show to make that money to get to the next show. It's like a domino. But one of those shows got canceled, and we were trapped in San Francisco, and we had to. We went and knocked. Went to the clubs. Hey, can we play here for a couple bucks for gas? And the next morning we went to Fisherman's Wharf.
And we did some busking at Fisherman's Wharf.
We went to Fisherman's Wharf, put our guitar cases open, and we played out there. And all these tourists came and threw money in there. It was really unusual. Me and Corky noticed that the hobos down there
were putting money in there. In our guitar case.
20s in the case. But tourists and all these people had money were putting in like quarters and dollars.
Yeah.
Isn't that strange?
Yeah, and it's crazy there.
And we walked out of there and bought some pizzas and got gas and was able to get to the next state.
Yeah.
I think we had to go to Oregon. Oregon to catch up with Concrete Blonde. But it was rough, but it was a great time. Remember we did that big tour. What was that metal band? Precious Metal.
Precious Metal, yeah.
Okay, we had the same agent as Precious Metal. He goes, they're easy to book. Girl bands. I just make a call and say it's a girl band. They go, how much you want? What do they need? Lobster steaks? But they get everything. Anyways, he goes, man, it's so hard booking a band with guys.
Yeah.
So anyways, he sends Precious Metal on this West Coast tour. And they come back, and they're 30,000 negative in the hole.
And we came back with money in our pocket.
No, we came back. No, we came back. They came back 30,000 in the hole. We did the same exact circuit. Came back, and we were $200 in the hole. And we had like one room all the time. Yeah. If we had a room. We were scrambling to ask people, can I come home with, can the band come home with you?
And stay at your house?
I would sleep in the car all the time.
And then Brent would go and find whoever he could go with.
Brent would disappear. And Ray would get all the chicks. He was like Jeff Molesky. He'd get a nice girl. She'd take him after the gig and like make him a steak dinner and buy him a leather jacket.
And they'd have a glass of wine.
On the beach. And then he would come back the next day. Hi guys, I had a great time.
And we're all in the van.
We're like sleeping in the van, all dirty, and that Ray always gets all the. Ray gets to play. Ray gets all the play.
So with that, we will end the show with a video from Easter.
Please.
Thank you all for coming out. You've been watching Chad's Underground Scene with Danny Dean and myself.
Rockers.
everything. Play music in between. Tune in and enjoy Chad's underground scene.